So I've got to figure out how to lock down all those doors, make sure he can't get out of them. I've got to, like, when you walk into a hotel room, you're like, oh, isn't that a charming vase? And I'm like, oh shit, like that's going to be broken in a minute or somebody's going to get hurt. So like, we've got to put away everything. Anything that's glass goes away.
Hey, good morning, fellow wanderers. Joseph here, and we are for another episode of Fellow Wanderers. And I'm super excited about this one because I teased it a while ago about how I'm going to be meeting people as you meet them. I normally have like really good friends on, or just people I kind of know. The gentleman I have with me, I literally just said hello to for the very first time about 2 minutes ago. I got connected via somebody else, and we're just excited to talk about the topic because he has family members. He travels a lot, but he has family members with special needs, medical needs, and in travel, that's a huge deal. But we're going to get to that in a hot second. But I want to introduce Adam to you from Irvine, California. Adam, thanks for getting on here with us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You have an extensive background in public policy and marketing, and you have a business that just looks like it's crushing it out there. Talk to me before we even jump in. Let's get into that because that actually kind of excites me a little bit. Maybe when I get a little bit more mature, I can start doing stuff like that.
I don't know. I mean, I still want to know what I'm going to do when I grow up. I started as a kid in politics, which I'm try my best to avoid now. But we work really a lot for local government. Actually, a lot of the kind of small towns that you talk about that you've driven through, those are my wife is actually our CEO, and she says we work for Hallmark towns. Like those, we also work for big places too, but we have a lot of those little places like, Dunwoody, Georgia, and Dakota County, Minnesota, and these like smaller places that aren't big massive metropolitan places that we love doing work with. So it's kind of fun.
And what do you help them do?
Oh, so we do market research and public opinion research. So everything from we certainly do the stuff you see on TV, like not a whole lot of that, which car you're going to buy, which toothpaste you're going to buy, but more relating back to public policy, like do people support or oppose development, or will they support a tax, or a new sewer treatment plant? It's the things that have to kind of get done or do get done to make the economy grow, but sometimes people don't love it, right? There's environmental considerations. Don't want to pass a tax to help homelessness. There's ways of getting things done, and sometimes people support it and sometimes they don't.
But what kind of some fun things you do around where you live?
We have unbelievably awesome hiking and open space. Like the people that thought through the development of where I live in Southern California. I live in Orange County, which is actually one of the densest counties in the country. Yeah. But as it grew out from Disneyland and those kind of Anaheim, those places which are hugely dense and don't have a lot of parkland, they started to realize that. So 40, 50, 60 years ago, they were like, okay, what do we do as we grow up? And even though like Irvine, where I am, is like really dense, like I can touch my neighbor's house from my window, but I get thousands and thousands of acres of open space and trails that are like literally accessible out my back door. So there's a ton of that opportunity, and our weather's good enough pretty much year round for us to be on one of those trails.
Every time I'm in California, I think I could live here, but then I'm like, there's people, and that gets to be difficult. But the weather is, I get it. I get the lure of as it's 35 and rainy here.
Yeah, and I hear every day someone talk about how the politics of California, or something about how LA, terrible LA is, and I live pretty far away from it, 40, 50 miles away. But the truth is, we have a pretty amazing life and lifestyle and weather, and and business opportunity. Like I grew up in New Jersey as a kid, and I thank God every day my parents retired to California and not to Florida. Not because I don't like Florida, I like visiting. but the business opportunity here is just off the charts versus other places.
When you get out of the metropolis of LA, where do you like to go to then?
So I'm actually today here on business, but I'm here as much as possible. I'm in Palm Springs area. We have like, it's usually like 20, 30 degrees hotter here versus like the coast. So, and I love hot, like give me, 110 degrees anywhere and I'm happy. So we definitely like come here a lot. I do love Florida. I not just like the heat, but I like the humidity. So like I'm a fan of that. And we like Colorado is the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life, and I've been in a lot of places. And then of course, I mean, if you get a chance to get to Europe, get to Israel, like take me as much as I can get there.
Funny story about Palm Springs. I met the marketer from Palm Springs. He was like part of their chamber. We were at a travel conference, and we had little interviews with people. We had 6-minute interviews, and these, from cruise lines, everything. Palm Spring guy comes to me, and we sit down and talk. And I know I'm going to meet the Palm Springs guy, and he goes through the whole presentation, and it gets to literally the last probably 10 seconds, and I say to him, I go, "Are you talking about California or Florida?" And he goes, "California." I said, "You might want to lead with that next time, because literally this whole conversation I've had with you, I thought you were talking about some town called Palm Springs in Florida."
Oh,
that shows you how my geographically challenged mind was.
Well, I tell people all the time, we're Americans. We don't know anything about geography. So you got to really go deep if you want people to understand.
I want to lead with that next time. So you go internationally a lot. Let's jump into it. I know you from the Jewish faith.
Yep.
And practicing, or just
yeah, we keep a kosher home, and we can walk to our synagogue, and yeah, absolutely.
So what's your take on what's happening in Israel right now? And
obviously, I'm a supporter of the one Jewish state in the world.
Yeah.
And repulsed by the what happened on October 7th, and fully supportive of figuring out a way to free the people of Gaza from the terrorists that run their community. So, I'm probably not the ideal ambassador, because I don't have all the context, but I definitely have a pretty clear sense that Israel has a right to defend itself and should figure out a way to get rid of terrorism. And as a person who's been to, here's what I look at it. I look at Israel and Gaza to some degree as similar to Cuba. And I've been to Cuba, and what do I see in Cuba? And we're kind of seeing some revolt stuff happening there right now. In Cuba, there is millions of entrepreneurs just waiting to be millionaires. Like every single young Cuban, old Cuban, it's basically like Israel in the Western Hemisphere, just waiting to happen, because they're like entrepreneurial spirit. The same thing should be happening in Gaza that's happening in Israel. Like if you ever meet a Syrian or somebody in the United States, someone who's Syrian, someone who's Lebanese, someone who's Israeli, and quite frankly Palestinian here in the US, they are successful, generally have some means and a focus on education. That's their culture. And the people of Gaza have just been kept down so terribly by the terrorists that run that place.
Yeah, and I have friends on both sides. I have friends that are Palestinian and Jewish, and man, I just grieve for both sides. And I just say, man, you think I don't know anything about geography? Like, my Christian upbringing of reading the Bible, only gives me so much context for what's happening there. And it's horrific on all sides. And I think a lot of times we pick sides on a lot of things. We're Americans. Americans like to pick, is it this one or that one? And you're like, can it be both? Can we all succeed? Can we all win? Can we have the Stephen Covey win-win? And not be, always, this person against that person. I think we've so polarized in our own country, and we're seeing it all throughout the world. So man, just grieves for both sides of that coin there.
Yeah.
You've gotten Israel. I've never been. My brother goes all the time, so I also get his stories. But what's some of your favorite things to see when you go there when that opens back up and people are going to just want to be there?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's kind of interesting because it's a very small country, so at some level there's always some level of risk in a place that small, surrounded by people who in a lot of ways don't like them. um, and so I would say it's perfectly a great place to travel to today, it just as much as it was a year ago. And from a business standpoint, it's pretty amazing what they've accomplished, what Israelis have accomplished. But look, the sea is beautiful, the Mediterranean Sea. Like most people sitting there will be like the ocean, but it's not. It's the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful. The weather's, kind of similar to California climate. There's moments of cold, but for the most part, it's very Mediterranean, very warm. Sea breeze is amazing. You can go from Tel Aviv, which is right there on the coast, just you literally like walk 20 minutes or so to Jaffa, which is the closest kind of Arab town that has like pretty amazing food, like shakshuka and other things. You can go hike up to the top of the hill and look at views, and you kind of see that there's people of all faiths and all backgrounds living together right next to each other. And
Yeah.
when I say an Arab town, because there's just kind of a natural flow of things where communities kind of gather together, just like in any other part of the world. But there's no restrictions, right? Jews and Arabs Jews and Muslim people get to live together wherever they want, inside Israel proper. And so I mean, and then just traveling around, seeing the history. I'm like, you show me history and I'm a fan. So I love like London. I love places where, every place you walk, there's like, thousands of years of history. Like, some soldier was on this, this land, 1,000 years ago, some, whatever, Roman leader he was here. I mean, it's pretty incredible. You can see the aqueducts from, thousands of years ago. So, it's just kind of amazing. You drive up some highway in Israel and there's like a sarcophagus on the side of the road. You're like, oh my gosh, we need to like put that in a museum. But there's like hundreds of them. Like, it's just every inch of the place. Kind of amazing.
The country in and of itself is a museum.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's a I mean, we go to like Washington D.C. and that's a museum of everything. Like, and there's some point like it's just a monument to all these other things. Like, you go to Israel and go, no, these are the things. These are the you go to Egypt, those are the things.
Right. The Margaret Mitchell House in Atlanta is like, that's great. You should go, but that's as far back as we go.
So you mentioned London, and we're going to go there for the very first time with my wife and my 4-year-old. She will be 5 at that point. We're taking the first cross Atlantic voyage of the Sun Princess, brand new ship that's just got out. We're staying 2 nights in London, never been there before. There's one thing I need to do, and it is what? I'm not going to leave there without doing what? You only get one option, Adam.
So Hampstead Heath is, the best way I can describe it is sort of their Central Park, but
I'm trying to take my pen down here, but I forgot that I'm recording this, and then I can actually
your production team will send you a note afterwards.
Production team, can you guys mark that down, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Hampstead Heath is this big, city park, but it's got elevation and it's got all kinds of historic buildings, and it's like I said, kind of like Central Park, but it's bigger and got forests to it, and so you can literally just spend days in Hampstead Heath and see the history and feel these hallowed grounds, and it's takes you away from the historic buildings of London and then the modern ones that have been built since the war and things like that. But it's really kind of a special place to spend some time.
What's a cool spot on the map that you're like, people don't know enough about and they should really check it out?
Ooh, I guess I'm really high. I said it earlier on Colorado. Like, I don't know if America really understands how beautiful that place is. There's these, and maybe just because I've been on the coasts of this country so much that I don't have I have a greater appreciation for those canyons with the river running through it, and the mountains towering beyond you, and snow capped, but yet warm weather, summer weather, and like all those things come together. Colorado is just so freaking beautiful, virtually every part of it.
Yep. I've always said that, the top of those mountains, we've only been out there in March during ski season. And when you get in those back bowls of some of those resorts, it's the closest you'll ever get to God.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're vertically closer, but also just the sense of awe of, a creator had to have made this.
Right.
This does not just randomly happen, and you just the sense of how big it is, but how quiet it is. And like Colorado, you're right. And you hear about people in the summertime, and I can only imagine there too. When you go out and travel, so you have how many kids do you have, Adam?
With 3 kids. The 2 oldest are the girls, and then the boy is 7, and he's the one that's autistic.
So you have a son with autism that can be a little bit of a challenge to travel with.
Yep.
And I've helped, different people with different disabilities, and there's a multitude of disabilities. I have a lady that is full wheelchair bound. I mean, her wheelchair, I think, is $80,000.
Right.
Like, she's, can't get out of it, but still loves to travel. And it's just cool. Like, and I try to bend over backwards literally for her to try to get her in the right rooms, get her the taxis, get her the stuff. But it's, at the end of the day, I feel like, man, you spend a lot of time, and I couldn't only imagine what it's like if that was just the norm of your life for her specifically.
Yeah.
But and also, like, for her, it's the booking out. Like, she's 3 cruises out right now.
Wow.
We have, if a cruise ship opens up and like she knows she wants to go on it, like, we're getting her a room for 2026.
Wow.
Because there is only so many rooms for wheelchairs.
Yeah.
Autism actually, obviously is a little different than that, but you have your struggles and challenges. What kind of things do you see out there with going with your family with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, he also, the boy also had heart surgery at 5 days old, and then at 5 years old. So that was another part of that challenge for us. Thank God he's doing well, but he's severely autistic. So he's nonverbal. And so and we don't know how he's necessarily going to react to different situations. We want him to have experiences, and we want our girls to have experiences. So we try to stay together as much as possible. I talk about, and it may sound silly to some people, but like, for instance, we don't open the windows on our second story, and the second part of our house, so, and I just as he doesn't have that relationship to fear and and that sort of thing. So that's one thing I need to have, like, a ground level experience when I'm with him. So we're definitely not going on a cruise with him. And we really need to,
because of heights. You just can't be up high.
Yeah, no, just because I don't know how he's going to react to the railing. Like, I can't,
Gotcha.
I can't risk that sort of thing. And I've heard you talk about, like, and it was a great episode where you talked about don't over research where you're going. Don't look at all the pictures. Don't, you just experience it when you get there. And I kind of thought to myself, like, I love doing that. Of just experiencing when I get there. But when we're traveling with the boy, like, it doesn't work like that. I need to
doesn't
know
work.
Single detail.
Don't listen to that podcast guy. He doesn't have a clue what he's talking about when it comes to that. You're right.
It is like, I need to know every detail of every door. Like, we tend to travel with a posse, like mother-in-law and aunts and uncles and caretaker, nanny, like because we just need a lot of support. And so, like, the rooms we get, let's say it's a suite with an attached room, and then there's like another door to the little butler's pantry or something like that. So I've got to figure out how to lock down all those doors, make sure he can't get out of them. I've got to, like, when you walk into a hotel room, you're like, oh, isn't that a charming vase? And I'm like, oh shit, like, that's going to be broken in a minute, or somebody's going to get hurt. So, like, we've got to put away everything. Anything that's glass goes away. like that glass top to the coffee table. Literally, I put that in the closet. Any kind of little tchotchke kind of stuff has to be put away because he's either going to chew on it or it's going to break. And he's not a violent kid, but it's just naturally, if you come to my house, like there's none of that stuff. There's literally nothing around for him to grab onto other than, the things that he normally takes. So things like that I have to know where it's at. I need a guaranteed room, in that location. And so for us, it's kind of typically having a conversation with a general manager or a director of rooms where we've got to reach out and say, look, we're coming, we're spending our good money, but we need a little extra support. And I need the staff to know if this kid gets out, because he elopes, he'll try to get out of there because he wants to explore. And I need the staff to know there's a nonverbal little boy walking around here. If you see him, bring him back. And luckily that's only happened once, but those are the kind of things we have to think about.
Have you found good hoteliers out there that are whatever, you can throw some names out. I know the beaches and sandals, in the Caribbean, the beaches and the family resort all inclusive, and they tout themselves that they're, autism, specialists and all that, but are they, I'm not saying that specifically, but if you found some areas that, man, these people have been really great to work with.
So we spend a lot of time, weeks throughout the year at the Hyatt in Indian Wells, the Hyatt Grand Champion. And they are really accommodating. There's literally the rooms that we get right in that same location. We reserve it, months and months in advance, and they're super accommodating. Their director of rooms is is always kind of supportive. Their whole staff is really helpful. So that's a great place for us. And I don't even know if they necessarily how much they know about our family and our situation. We just explain to them a little bit about it and the important things we need, and they're always very accommodating. I found generally if you can reach out and get in touch with someone, an assistant general manager, assistant director of rooms, that kind of person, they're really accommodating. They want to be helpful, and we're also realistic. I'm not, I don't want people to, if it's not possible, we're not gonna be mad if you can't give us a ground floor room ahead of time. If you can guarantee it, great. If not, we can't stay at your property. Those are the kind of things. So if we can't, I'm not angry about it. It's just the way the world works. Yeah. So we just go to those places that know they can accommodate us. And whereas other people are kind of doing the short-term rental kind of a thing, Airbnb, it's less and less of an option for us because there's, just too many X factors in a house like that. I got to bring gates and stuff for staircases and things like that. Whereas a hotel, I have a little more control.
Do you go overseas with them, with your kids?
So the boy has never been on a plane, and that's something I want to explore a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar with JSX, the small the regional airline. They do backside of the airport airline, and so I want to reach out to them and see if they'll let me just get on the plane with him and get off, just see if we can get on. So we've never done that. We've taken the girls to Hawaii. And we escaped Maui fires. We were right there in Kanapali. Fire came to a mile within us, overnight, explosions going off all night. So we have a whole escape from Maui story. But the boy wasn't with us because that would have been
podcast number 2 there, Adam.
Yeah.
Escape from Maui. Oh, man. That's crazy. It was as devastating as it looked.
So I didn't see that. I saw the fires and we heard the explosions all night long because they don't have natural gas there. They have propane. So literally on a minute by minute basis, you heard somebody's house being blown up because there was a propane tank or a business being blown up, which is just devastating. And the people, that's a crazy story. Leaving at that hotel in the morning before we were able to get out, before they opened the road and we were able to get out through the North Road. There were staff members working at the hotel because there was no power. They cooked with whatever they could cook, providing whatever they could provide to people. Some of the workers there had lost their homes hours before. And they were there like helping out, trying to figure out how to make sure the guests were being fed. Like, just your heart like just broke for these people, because they lost everything, literally.
Wow.
And yet they showed up. And yet they showed up for
Yeah. The resilience of people is pretty crazy. You obviously don't just travel with your family. Like, how do you get out with your wife and travel without feeling guilty?
I appreciate that, and I for other people, I like to talk about it. We sometimes travel with the girls, and my wife and I definitely, because there's a lot of pressures involved with caring for the boy, that we get away ourselves. At least 3-4 times a year for 3-4 days. And usually like within driving distance, just because it's easier to get there and we can kind of start relaxing within an hour or two. And the truth is, you've got to kind of give yourself that space. Like, we are on like 100% of the time when we're home, because like I don't mean to. It's hard to explain, but like everything's a threat. Like he's a very sweet, happy kid, but every like thing in your house, like you can't have glassware because it will just break, because he's careless with things. He doesn't have the manual dexterity to kind of like hold things. So every, like, you have to be even eagle eye on this kid at all times. Every drawer has to be locked. If not, like, he's going to be chewing on the spatula, and other time we just let him chew on the spatula. But
you don't want it to be a knife.
Exactly. So like, we are on 100% of the time when we are home, and he doesn't sleep very much. He doesn't need the sleep that you and I do. So he wakes up at 2 o'clock in the morning, or maybe he'll go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, wake up at 4. So it's just a different scenario for us. So yes, we luckily have a lot of support, have a whole village around us of people who let us get away and give our girls experiences. And then also let my wife and I get away to kind of get a little break sometimes. So I don't feel guilty, because we do give him this, like, our kids have a big life. There's a massive amount of people around that love them, friends and family. And he does get, like, we're back out here in Palm Springs area at the Hyatt in the summer for his birthday. We take a week, we come for the summer, or for the week. He loves the lazy river. Just recently kind of learned how to swim kind of on his own. We're right next to him, but he can like really enjoy the pool, and he loves it. And so we give him those experiences as much as we possibly can.
Oh man, this has been so good. You I don't want to turn the table here a little bit on people that are listening to this. But go like people have literally no excuse not to get out and do something. Like, because you're proving it here, and I hope people as they're listening are encouraged that, or maybe a little bit of they're prodded a bit to go, oh. Because I see it all, I hear it all the time, and people going, "Oh, we have kids, we can't travel," and I'm like, "What?" When we adopted Ruby, who was our 4-year-old, we have older kids, and we adopted Ruby. We had her in our house since she was 2 months. Yeah, and I was part of it was like, she's not going to slow us down. Like, we were supposed to be empty nesting by this point, and so like we're taking her out. The first thing we did after her adoption was get her passport. Like, we're getting out, and she's a well-adjusted, amazing kid. So like zero, troubles there. But that idea of like, no, you can go out and do it. You can go out and spend some time together. You can go out and travel and see things, and your kids should not be an excuse. Obviously there's money and timing, all those. I mean, there's plethora of things, but like, it's like part of it's, figure it out like you guys have. And it has to do with family. I heard, systems, putting the right people around you. That takes time and effort to do that. And you guys have done that. And, you can have a great life in those situations.
I think part of it too is opening yourself up to having a different situation in your home. I have an average, a dozen people in my house a day, in all different kinds of therapists, family, friends, like everybody has a code to my front door. Like there's people in and out, like there's people sleeping there.
Why even lock it at that point?
Right, exactly. So the key there is, some people would be in a fetal position in the corner, knowing that like 'cause most people just go see their family at like Christmas. It's like, okay, it's Christmas. We see them for 4 hours. We go home. Like that's the extent of their family interaction. And for us, it's like this. We just embraced it. And I didn't grow up like that. I grew up with pretty basic home with not a lot of guests, not a lot of anything happening, and we just had to kind of flip it on its head and say, everybody's welcome because it's the only way we're going to survive this.
Yeah. Awesome. That's a great spot to end. I feel like I can talk with you forever, and I'm so excited that I'm randomly meeting you, and this was probably one of the easiest interviews ever. Just the chats, they're not even interviews, just chats to talk about life, and this has been so good. Anything else you want to leave people with?
I will say this. I am a passionate advocate for my travel agent. And she's a really important part of our travels. I don't use her every single time. Like, I book an overnight for a business and a Hyatt, whatever. Like, I don't need that, but she's a really important part. She's a part of making our escape from Maui like amazing because she got us a place in Oahu. So I'm a big advocate for travel agents. I think what travel agents do are like totally underappreciated, and a lot of people don't understand the value of having someone who knows how you like to travel and knows what you care about and can really give you an experience that like you wouldn't get on your own. You just wouldn't.
Yeah. Thank you. And I love, like, this is our full-time life. This is our, we immerse ourselves into this thing called travel. And so it's, hopefully we bring benefit and value to people. And so, yeah, thanks for sharing that funny story for all the listeners. You actually canceled our appointment this morning. I got it. I woke up and with you canceling it, and I'm like, what? Why is he canceling this appointment? And then I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry if we couldn't make it. And you were like, oh, I was like wondering why in the world I have this travel agent. I'm having this meeting with this travel agent because that's what my Google, sends you the thing for a free consultation. And you're like, I already have a travel agent. Why is this person bothering me? And I'm like, no, I'm the guy that's doing the interview with you. And he goes, oh, that's right.
I'm in. I'm back in.
I'm in. Put me back in, coach.
Yeah.
But that showed me, even with you, like, no, man, I have my person. And I think that's a beautiful thing in life with everything, man. If it's your car maintenance guy to your hair cutter to whoever, like, have your people. Life is too short to be doing everything yourself. And as you've shared this today of just even taking care of your family, like you can't do it. So why not bring people alongside of you to have that experience with and help you out? Thank you so much, Adam, for taking this time. Thank you for being on with me today. And see you around.
Yeah, thank you. Enjoyed it very much.